Govt 2305, American Federal Government, Module 1.05, Individualism and Community. Americans generally value individualism, the idea that individuals, not the society or the community or the government, are responsible for their own well-being. We as a society do not pay for maternity leave. Instead, we expect private individuals and families to handle the costs of birth, adoption, caregiving, health care, and a variety of other social welfare programs. But that's only one part of the American story. In contrast to individualism is the principle of collectivism, which is the practice or principle of giving a group priority over each individual in it. The idea of individualism is a source of controversy in every nation. There are two ways to see any society. First, as a community, or a collection of individuals. In a community, everyone is working together for the common good. In that collection of individuals, everyone is working independently for personal benefit or gain. So let's take a closer look at these two principles as we proceed through this module. Countries that emphasize the community and ensure that all citizens are comfortably cared for within the context of a capitalist economy are called social democracies. Social democrats believe that members of a society are responsible for one another. They view government as a source of mutual assistance and form their communities on the basis of solidarity and cooperation. The government provides citizens with the basics: good health insurance, retirement benefits, generous unemployment packages, and services such as maternity leave, child care, family medical leave, and a variety of others. So, in the Norwegian case in your book, it's all about maternity benefits, but it could be many other kinds of benefits as well. In years past, Americans generally leaned toward individualism and away from social democracy. Your book lists two examples from American history in order to explain why this was true. One finds the answers in global opportunities, and the other emphasizes social and racial discord. In contrast to their European counterparts who lived under many social and economic restrictions, including the inability for those born in the majority of society to own their own land, early government frontiersmen found an endless land of golden opportunity. With a little luck and lots of hard work, anyone, at least white males, could earn a living wage and perhaps even earn great wealth for themselves and their families. Stories about the early settlers clearing their own land and seeking their fortunes were later peppered with images of rugged individuals who teamed the western frontier. In these stories, hard workers relied on themselves and not the government. But like most stories that have made their way through time, frontier life was less about individuals and more about communities who served and worked cohesively for the benefit of everyone. If you were a settler, for instance, there was no way to build a barn or a church or a meeting house or even a school without the help of your neighbors. But the image of the rugged and sturdy frontiersman who pulled himself up from the bootstraps in order to make a living and care for his family has remained an integral part of American culture. And as your textbook authors note, there was an important kernel of truth at the core of the idea of individualism. Few societies have ever offered so many people as much opportunity to rise and prosper as early America did. Another explanation for American individualism emphasizes the enormous differences within our society. The country is too big and the population too diverse to develop a sense of solidarity. What, after all, did Calvinist Yankees in New England have in common with Roman Catholics in Baltimore or Anglican planters in Virginia, much less Spanish speakers in Florida or Texas. Moreover, a nation that included 4 million black slaves by 1860 had a terrible divide running through its heart. So how do you build social solidarity in a land where millions of people live in chains? And by the 1830s, even more division had arisen as Irish immigrants fleeing the potato famine in their mother country had moved to America in droves. Later, as the railroads needed labor, Chinese immigrants flocked to American shores as well. All these regional, cultural, and religious differences became a central cause for the rise in American individualism and the decline in solidarity. Rugged individualism is described as the practice or advocacy of individualism in social and economic relations, emphasizing personal liberty and independence, self-reliance, resourcefulness, self-direction of the individual, and free competition in enterprise. Like John Wayne in the movies, people in America have a strong belief in the idea that the only thing necessary to succeed in America is the practice of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. But, as I talked about in the introduction video for this chapter, how can I pull myself up from the bootstraps if I haven't got any boots? Americans may see themselves as rugged individualists, but that's largely a myth. Rather, there are two counteracting themes. Individualism and solidarity always are competing with each other in American politics. While individualism has long-standing historical and cultural holds on the image of what it means to be an American, a sense of solidarity is also needed to unite the population in a cohesive way. Bottom line, Americans are known for pulling together as communities and as a nation. Most of us take care of our neighbors and support government programs that take care of people who we don't even know. While the United States may have deep divisions with solidarity and a sense of community, there's little doubt that these divisions would disappear over time if left alone. Remember, a substantial majority of Americans today are young, first or second generation immigrants or racial and ethnic minorities. What do you think the political and cultural landscape of America will look like in 20 or 30 years from now? Americans often vote for budget cuts and lower taxes, but they don't want their own favorite programs cut. That's human nature. But remember, Americans on average pay fewer taxes than most Western industrialized nations. Yet we also have a much higher percentage of economic inequality and poverty. Is the trade-off between services and taxes a fair one, or do you think that the problem goes deeper? Now let's quickly review this module. American politics includes both individualism and solidarity. Individualism means the belief in taking care of yourself rather than relying on government or to provide services to you. Solidarity is the bond that's built when a group of individuals work together in order to provide a benefit for the community rather than for the individual and their interests. This can also be described as using the terms community or collectivism. Different leaders, parties, groups, and individuals weigh the two values in different ways. However, compared to other nations, the United States is at the individualist end of the spectrum. Many issues today present themselves in the form of collective action problems, meaning that the maximum benefit is seen when individuals work together in the cohesive manner to provide a public good. When an individual decides to work independently for their own self-interest without contributing to the cost of a public good, but reaps the benefits of that public good, that person is described as a free rider.